Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountryshootcottage.net. So today we're going to talk about 3 easy ways to make a face mask. None of the ways require sewing at all. So 3 no-sew face masks. So never in a million years did I think I would be making a video about making face masks. But it's the reality of where we're at. And now that the CDC is recommending that at least most of us cover our face when we go out, I thought it was a good idea to put forth these easy no-sew methods for making a face mask rather than the ones that require all the sewing. And so if you can't really, either can't sew, can't spare the time to make one right now, or maybe just can't spare the money to buy one, these are 3 ways that you can make one, probably with things you have around your home. So the first thing we're going to do is use a bandana or a square of fabric. That's going to be our first mask. You might have seen a version of this floating around, but I kind of have put my twist on it. The second mask we're going to make is actually out of an old t-shirt. So if you have an old t-shirt, long sleeve is probably the best, but short sleeve will work as well. And I'll show you a couple of variations for how to use that to make the face mask. And then the third thing that you can upcycle into a face mask is a reusable shopping bag. So if you have some of these old reusable shopping bags laying around your home, you can actually use the fabric in them to make a no-sew face mask. So let's start with the bandana and talk about how to turn it into a face mask. I will talk about options to add a filter to all 3 of these. However, I'm not going to discuss what filter is best. You can do some research on your own. I haven't seen really any good advice that I've seen on the optimal filter. I have seen advice on the fabric. So we're going to talk about cotton fabrics as well as the material that shopping bags are made out of is actually called OlyFun. And OlyFun has actually been recommended by some states as a great material to make face masks out of. So I thought I'd use all 3 of these. So whatever you have lying around your home, you can make a face mask for yourself. No sewing required. So let's start with the bandana to get started on our first face mask. For this first face mask, you'll need a bandana or a square of cotton fabric that's 21.5 by 21.5 inches. And then my version uses ribbon or shoestrings, or we'll talk about making some ties out of a t-shirt later. Just anything you have on hand, even strips of fabric or whatever to make the ties. I like this better than the method using hair ties. I don't like that around my ears actually, so the ribbon is actually better because it ties around my head. Now I'm going to use, my favorite method is using 1 ribbon that's about 1.5 yards long. I'll show you a method using 2 as well, so if your ribbon is not as long, you can definitely still make this. Alright, so you want to unfold your bandana, and the first thing I'm going to say is if you want to add a filter, I would add it now and right in the center. And the filter should be, about the size just to cover your mouth and nose, and about as wide to cover your mouth and nose. So just a small filter in the middle. And then we want to fold this bandana. So I'm going to fold it to the center, and then I'm going to fold it to the center again. And that way your filter would be fine right there in the middle. And we'll just overlap the center on that last one. So you want this to be about as wide as your nose and mouth, maybe a little wider or just not quite as wide. You can actually adjust it after we're done with it. So then we're going to fold it over. Now, the ribbon, the 1 ribbon method. So we're going to have this ribbon and it's just looped around. The ends are here, so hanging down. And then we're going to fold the mask over those. And we're going to just tuck this inside this one. Now, if you added the filter, you want to be able to change it. So we're not going to sew this at all. Now, if you don't want the filter, you just want the cotton fabric, you could actually glue this. I would recommend something like a fabric glue like Fabri-Tac. They make fabric glue sticks, something like that, to actually glue this closed. I would put it on your head and adjust it first and make sure that it's the right width, because you can pull it out or push it in depending on the size you need. So if you're going to glue it, be sure to adjust it on your face first. So let's look at the fit with just the 1 ribbon, and then if you need to, so if you don't have a ribbon this long, then I would just run 2 ribbons like this, so 1 on each side, then do the same. So cross this, tuck this inside, and now let's look at the fit on this one. and we'll talk about how the ribbons themselves work. All right, here's our face mask. If you have 2 ribbons, 2 shoestrings, 2 whatever you have, then I would tie the top 2. So I would tie those in a knot. I'm actually going to fit the one with 1 ribbon. So once you tie that loop, it'll be just like mine, right? So it'll have a loop at the top. This will just be a tie instead of the ribbon. And when you want to put that loop at the top of your head, put the mask over your mouth. Pull the 2 strings that are loose and tie those in the back. Then you can adjust your ribbon. You can adjust the face mask. You could actually pull this part up like this if you need to, and then you can adjust it to fit just like you want, all with a bandana and some ribbon. So now, let's make our second face mask out of an old t-shirt. Alright, so for the t-shirt version, you need an old t-shirt and a pair of fabric scissors, or any scissors will work. Now, I like a long sleeve t-shirt because I can make more masks out of it, but a short sleeve would definitely work. So all you're going to do is cut, so the t-shirt fabric itself won't fray a whole lot, so we're just going to cut a mask from the t-shirt itself. So we're just going to cut the arm and the tapered sleeves on this one, so the smallest would probably make a great mask for a kid, and then you would go up the sleeve to make masks for adults. So we're going to measure this and we're going to make it about 5.5 inches long. Now this is actually your mask portion, and we need ties for this one, and we're going to use the t-shirt for the ties as well. We're going to use the body of the t-shirt for the ties. So what I'm going to need to do is just cut this into strips across. So we're just going to cut it into a couple strips. You want these strips to be fairly thin. So maybe 1/2 inch wide. So we set our t-shirt aside. So we have our mask piece that came out of the sleeve, and then our ties actually came out of the body. So I'm just going to snip these in half. I actually got the tag in this, so I'm just going to trim that away. And these are like stretchy ties, right? So they stretch, they're like ties. Now, I don't really like the seams on this, so I'm going to use 2 ties out of 1 strip. So the size of this shirt, I think these will be fine, because they stretch plenty. Now, if you want to add a filter to this one, what you're going to need to do, you can put the filter inside the sleeve, but you're going to need to do something across the bottom. So I would glue the bottom shut, something like Fabri-Tac, fabric hot glue, something like that. I would glue the bottom shut, and then you can insert your filter and change it from the top. Now, to tie this on, you're going to need ties. So we're going to put those on both sides. So when I'm talking about gluing the bottom shut, you'll want to put your ties in first, and then put your glue from tie to tie. So there you have a 2-layer mask with fabric ties. So let's check out the fit on this one and how to put it on. So with the t-shirt mask, the same thing. I like to knot it at the top first so I don't have to tie both ties at the same time. And I like to put the seam of that sleeve in the front so it's not like on my nose, but you can definitely do it either way. And then you just want to put the tie over your head, put the sleeve portion over your mouth, then pull this second tie back, tie it in the back, and not get your hair. And then this one's ready. So there's a second no-sew face mask that you can make out of an old t-shirt. Now, for this one, these t-shirt ties that we used, you can use this whole t-shirt for ties, for a variety of the masks we're talking about. So we talked about the bandana mask and using a ribbon. If all you have is an old t-shirt, just cut the body of it into strips and use it as stretchy ties for the rest of your mask. So if you like the bandana mask better, but don't have any ribbon, just use the bottom of an old t-shirt to make the tie portion and make that bandana mask. So now let's look at our third option with an upcycled reusable grocery bag. Alright, so you're going to need that grocery bag. You're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need something to tie it with. So you could use ribbon. You could use pieces of that t-shirt that we talked about. We're going to use the same type of tying method. So like a 1.5 inch yard ribbon if you're going to use one, shorter if you're going to use two. And for this one, you'll definitely need some kind of glue. So I'm going to use Fabri-Tac from Beacon. There's fabric glue for your hot glue gun. You could just use regular glue, just make sure it's strong enough. I haven't experimented with a ton of different glues, but I've used this one. Alright, so what we're going to do is cut this shopping bag into 5.5 by 7 inch pieces. So I've done that here. I have two 5.5 inch by 7 inch pieces. Now, if you only have one bag to use for this, you're going to have to make them both the same color. The reason I recommend making two different colors is so you can tell the inside from the outside, and so that you put it on the same way every time, so that anything you touched with your hands, if the purple's the outside, you've only touched the purple surface, you haven't touched the gray. So keep that in mind. You might want to use two different colors, have two different shopping bags, or even mark which side is the front and which is the back, like with marker or something like that. Now, we are going to glue it. We're just going to use this Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to use it down both sides. So you're going to use it down the short sides. Now, talking about filters. If you're going to use a filter, we would do it the same way. You would put it in the middle, and you would just glue down the bottom, leaving room for your ties on both sides. And then you could change the filter out from the top, because the top would be open. Now, these squares are not perfect. You can probably tell that. But that's okay, it does not have to be. So we're going to glue those together, and then we're going to allow this to dry. So we're going to set it aside, allow it to dry. So when it's dry, it looks something like this. So again, I've used two colors. The pink, I'm going to make the front, but you can make either color the front. Just make sure that you know the front from the back. And then we're going to put our ribbon inside. Now remember, if I have made this for a filter pocket, I would need to find the hole on the bottom that I did not glue shut on both sides. And I'm using a ribbon, and remember, you can use anything. So shoestring, piece of old t-shirt, it does not matter. And you can use two ties, or you can use one, so it'll loop around your head like this. So now let's take a look at this one and how it fits when you put it on. I did want to do some quick notes here. So the reusable shopping bag I'm using is only one layer, so it's a really thin shopping bag. If you have one of those insulated bags, you don't want to use that. So you don't want it so tight that you couldn't breathe. So you want something that is just a thin one layer, and use two layers of the shopping bag. So that's just a note in case you have those reusable shopping bags that have the insulated liner for like frozen things. Alright, so now I'm going to add the loop, same as we did the other one. So I'm adding the loop around my head, putting the face mask itself over the front, grab the two ends, tie them in the back. And that's it for this one. Now, you can adjust the measurements on this one to fit the size you need. So play with the measurements themselves to fit the size. I would start larger, especially if you're running low on the shopping bags, and then cut down shorter. So this one, I could probably cut it shorter widthwise. So I could probably cut it shorter down here. But lengthwise it probably works pretty well. And then the other thing you can do is tighten up your strings so that it really gathers right here. And you could even take those gathers and like glue them together if you wanted to fit it to you. So this is your mask, so fit it to what you are doing. So there you have it. There's our 3 no-sew face masks. So I hope that helps you a little bit, especially if you are trying to follow the procedure and wear a face mask when you go out in public. So even if you don't have those sewing skills, even if you don't have, tons of cotton material laying around, hopefully you have a bandana, an old t-shirt, or a reusable shopping bag that you can cut up and turn into a face mask easily. So I hope this helps you. If you have any questions about anything we've done today, please ask them in the comment section below. If you love this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss any of our crafty fun. So thank y'all so much, and I hope you stay healthy, stay well, and stay home. So thank y'all. Bye-bye.